AITA for refusing to host Thanksgiving after my family demanded a no-politics contract. My husband, 27M, and I, 25F, bought our first home last year. Because we finally have the space, I volunteered to host Thanksgiving for my extended family, around 14 people. For context, my family is deeply politically divided. My parents and aunts-uncles are staunchly conservative. My sister, my husband, and I are very progressive. Over the last few years, family dinners have become a minefield. Last Christmas, an argument about immigration got so heated that my uncle left before dessert, and my mum cried for 3 days. 2 weeks ago, my mum sent out a group text. She said that because everyone's emotions are too high lately, she wanted everyone to sign a literal, printed-out family peace agreement before coming to my house. The contract explicitly banned discussing the upcoming elections or any politicians by name, the economy, inflation or taxes, climate change or energy policies, any social issues, LGBTQ+ topics, reproductive rights, etc. The contract stated that if anyone broke the rule, they had to put $50 in a jar and immediately leave. My parents, aunts and uncles all signed it in the chat. I refused to sign it. I told my mum that while I want a peaceful dinner, I am not forcing adult guests to sign a contract to enter my own home. More importantly, I told her that many of these political topics aren't abstract debates for us. They affect our actual lives, healthcare and finances. And banning them entirely feels like forcing us to pretend to be people we aren't just to keep the older generation comfortable. My mum called me crying, saying I was ruining the first family Thanksgiving in years. My dad then called and said I was being self-righteous, and that if I can't put my ideology aside for 4 hours to eat turkey, I'm being incredibly immature. He said they just want a normal holiday without being preached to. Because they wouldn't drop the contract, I officially cancelled hosting. I told them they can find a restaurant or host it themselves, but my doors are closed if I have to police my guests' speech. Now half the family is refusing to speak to me, and my sister is the only one backing me up. AITA for cancelling. AITA for ruining my wife's birthday by buying her exactly what she asked for. Throwaway, because my wife knows my main account, and I don't need her finding out I'm asking strangers on the internet to validate my sanity. My wife, Sarah, 31F, turned 31 yesterday. For the last 3 months, whenever I, 32M, asked her what she wanted for her birthday, she gave me the exact same response. I don't want anything. Honestly, just a nice, quiet day where I don't have to make any decisions. I took this to heart. I really did. I am a literal man, but I'm not an idiot. I knew nothing, didn't mean literally nothing. It meant no big fuss. So I meticulously planned the ultimate no-decision day. 8 o'clock a.m. I woke up early, slipped out of bed, and handled the kid-dog logistics. 900 a.m. I brought her coffee in bed. Just coffee, because she said she didn't want a heavy breakfast. 1:12 p.m. For lunch, I ordered from her favorite sandwich place. I didn't ask her what she wanted. I just ordered her usual so she wouldn't have to make a decision. 7:00 p.m. Dinner time. I cooked her favorite pasta. When it came time for gifts, I presented her with a beautifully wrapped, high-end card. Inside, I wrote a heartfelt letter about how much I love her and enclosed a printed itinerary for a spa day next weekend, fully paid for, including the tip, with the treatments already selected by me based on her past preferences. 0 decisions required. I thought I had absolutely nailed it. I was ready for my Husband of the Year trophy. Instead, Sarah looked at the card, looked at me, and her eyes welled up with tears. Apparently, I don't want anything actually meant she wanted a specific leather tote bag she had lingered near for 3 seconds at a boutique 4 months ago. She said that while she appreciated the spa day, the fact that there was no physical box for her to unwrap on her actual birthday made it feel like I took her too literally and used her words as an excuse to be lazy. She's now giving me the cold shoulder because she feels like I didn't put any creative thought into it, and that a nice, quiet day should have included a surprise element that she didn't have to ask for. I'm sitting here looking at a flawlessly executed, stress-free day that cost me a chunk of change, wondering how I became the bad guy for following explicit instructions. AITA for listening to my wife's words instead of hiring a psychic. AITA for keeping my grandma's vanity. My husband Mark and I moved into our first home 3 months ago. It's a gorgeous 1920s craftsman, but it drained our savings, so we've been furnishing it slowly. When my mother offered me my late grandmother's mahogany vanity, I jumped at it. It's stunning, with a massive, heavy oval mirror that has just a bit of that hazy, vintage silver oxidation around the edges. The trouble started the very first night it was in our bedroom. I woke up around 3 o'clock a.m. to a rhythmic, faint scratching sound. I sat up and saw Mark standing in front of the vanity in the pitch black. He was just staring into the mirror. I called his name, and he slowly turned around, looked right through me with completely vacant eyes, and got back into bed. The next morning, he had no memory of it. I figured it was just stress-induced sleepwalking, but it kept happening, every single night. By the second week, Mark started looking exhausted during the day. He grew pale, bags formed under his eyes, and he became incredibly irritable. He started complaining that his reflection in normal bathroom mirrors looked wrong or delayed. Then came last Tuesday. I woke up to a freezing cold room. The scratching sound was back, but louder this time, like fingernails on glass. I looked over and Mark was at the vanity again. But he wasn't just standing there. His forehead was pressed hard against the glass of the mirror. His arms were hanging limply at his sides, but inside the reflection, his hands were up, frantically clawing at the glass from the other side, trying to get out. I screamed and lunged out of bed to grab him. The moment I touched his shoulder, he collapsed onto the floor, hyperventilating. When I turned on the lights, his forehead was bruised, and there were faint, bloody scratches on his fingertips. He looked at me in absolute terror and whispered, "That's not me in the room anymore. I'm still inside." We slept in a hotel that night. The next day, Mark demanded we burn the vanity. He refused to even step foot back into the house until it was gone. He's currently staying at his brother's apartment because he says just thinking about that mirror makes him feel like he's suffocating. Here is where I might be the asshole. I didn't get rid of it. My grandmother loved that vanity, and it's a priceless family heirloom. Instead of destroying it, I moved it down into our locked basement and covered the mirror with a thick, heavy canvas tarp. I told Mark it was gone, but his brother saw my car at the house later and peeked through the basement window, spotting the tarp. He told Mark. Now Mark is furious. He says I'm choosing a piece of wood over his sanity and safety, and he's threatening to file for divorce if I don't smash it to pieces. My mum is on my side, saying Mark is having a psychiatric break and shouldn't be destroying my family's history. I love my husband, but I feel like locking it away completely solves the problem without destroying a piece of my heritage. AITA? AITA for optimizing my wife's morning routine? Hey Reddit, I'm using a throwaway because my wife knows my main account and currently isn't speaking to me. For some context, I, 26M, am a big believer in efficiency. I like to streamline things. My wife, 25F, on the other hand, is a creative soul who loves her morning ritual. This ritual involves waking up at 5:30 a.m., grinding coffee beans, incredibly loud, frothing milk, and sitting on the porch for 45 minutes just absorbing the day. To me, this is a massive bottleneck in her morning productivity. Last week, she was complaining about feeling tired and stressed about her commute. Wanting to be a supportive partner, I did some deep dive research into bioavailability, caloric efficiency, and cognitive enhancers. I spent about $150 on high-grade oat flour, pea protein, unflavored electrolytes, liquid vitamins, and a dash of caffeine powder. I calibrated the exact macronutrient ratio she needs based on her height and weight. I spent Sunday night blending it into a hyper-efficient beige slurry. It tastes vaguely like cardboard and chalk, but scientifically speaking, it is perfect fuel. On Monday morning, while she was in the shower, I hid the coffee beans in the crawl space and put 16 ounces of the lukewarm slurry into her favorite world's okayest mum mug. We don't have kids, it's an inside joke. When she came downstairs, I proudly presented it to her and said, "Surprise! I saved you 45 minutes today. Drink this in 30 seconds and we can hit the gym." Read it, she didn't even taste it. She looked into the mug, looked at me, and asked where the coffee beans were. I told her I removed the temptation so she could break her psychological dependency on warm bean water and embrace a high-output lifestyle. She absolutely lost it. She said I was acting like a dystopian cult leader, refused to drink the slurry, drove to Starbucks, and has been staying at her sister's house since Tuesday. She texted me saying I crossed a massive boundary by messing with her food and her morning peace. I think she's completely overreacting. I didn't do this to be mean. I did it because I love her and wanted to optimize her performance and give her back 45 minutes of her life. My friends are split. Some say it's hilarious but unhinged. Others say I'm a controlling psychopath. So Reddit, AITA for trying to upgrade my wife's morning routine. AITA for getting child support this way. When my husband and I got divorced, we had 4 minor children together. Husband was ordered to pay me child support for them. The attorneys told both of us that when each child reached the age of 18, my ex-husband would no longer have to pay child support for them. But this doesn't happen automatically. We would have to file a paper with the family court asking for child support to be reduced. You pay a nominal fee, file a court paper, and it's done. We agreed that we would take turns doing this as each child aged out, and I would go first, since I was working as a paralegal in a state office and was familiar with filing court documents. When the oldest turned 18, I filed the paperwork with the court, and the child support was reduced from covering 4 children to covering 3. When the second child reached 18, I waited for either my ex to ask me how to file the paperwork, we were on good terms and communicated regularly, or for the amount of child support I received to reduce, but neither happened. Then a few years later, the third child reached 18, and the same thing happened. He neither reached out to me nor filed anything with the court. So at this point, I had 1 minor child at home and was receiving child support for 3 children. Years later, when the youngest one turned 18 and was graduating from high school, my ex-husband handed me some paperwork to end the child support payments, which I immediately and happily signed. His girlfriend said to me, "I just found out that he's been overpaying for years. You knew and you said nothing. You knew how to file the court documents, and yet you just let him continue paying for 3 kids when you only had 1. All this was true. But he was present, just like I was, when we agreed that I would take care of the court filings for the first and he would do the second. He knew the kids were aging out and did nothing about it. He didn't ask me, didn't go to the divorce attorney, didn't do anything to try to remedy the situation. AITA? AITA. Today I learned a lot of people have no idea of the actual meaning of the word fraud. As I mentioned, I was working as a paralegal. Some people in this thread said I was trying to avoid getting a job. And I spoke to my co-worker attorneys to make sure I wasn't doing anything legally iffy. I was assured that it is the ex-husband's, payer's legal duty to file to reduce payments. And since he'd never done so, I have no legal obligation to remind him. I will never be sued and we still have a good relationship. I was never asking about legal issues. I know more about them than you do, but about arseholishness. Update. 100 of people have told me that AITA, but then again, hundreds have said that INTA, so I reckon it's a matter of opinion, which I'm fine with. Several people have said things like I'm a criminal and belong in jail, but when I've challenged them as to what exact crime I've done, they've all backpedaled to say, well, it might not be a crime, but you're still the arsehole, which is a totally different thing. AITA if I tell my mother-in-law she's horrible. Throwaway because my fiancé knows my actual account name. I am here trying to get some advice because my fiancé currently has an issue with his mother. To give some context, my fiancé, 26 Mers, we will call him Max, had dated this girl in high school for 4 years, 26F, we will call her Heather. This girl cheated on him twice during their relationship and got pregnant both times. I didn't meet him until he had turned 21, so I did not know them during their relationship. Anyway, the problem is his mother. She knows everything that Heather did to Max, but she proceeded to keep a relationship with Heather anyway. She keeps inviting this person to family gatherings and introducing her as her daughter. It got to the point where the business that I was supposed to take over as payment for the work that I did, she gave it to Heather. I am pissed off about that alone as it is, however, that's not why I'm here. I have a lawyer situating that whole thing. The reason why I'm here is a chain of events that happened. Unfortunately, Max and I had suffered through a miscarriage, so we told his mother to make her aware of the situation. On that side of our family, we only told her, Max's brother and grandmother. Tell me how Heather found out and spread it to the rest of the family, so I'm ultra pissed about that. That is also not quite why I'm here, however, that is the context leading up to this. After Heather spread it throughout the family without even knowing all the facts, I had made it a point to set a boundary with Max's mom. We do not want her anywhere around us, or we will stop showing up to family events. The real issue here is that Max's birthday is coming up, and his mother had said that she was going to throw him a party, a barbecue that he can choose whatever he wants to eat. I have recently learned from Max's brother's wife that the mother invited Heather to Max's birthday party. Max is also pissed, as this is his mother who is literally choosing the person who cheated on him. She has never cut off the relationship with Heather, and it's really bothering him, but he won't say anything to his mother about it, since she is a narcissist who never listens to boundaries. He's also kind of a pushover. I can't talk as a recovering people-pleaser myself. So Wibte, if I was to tell her how much of a horrible person she is, and an even worse mother since the loyalty is obviously not there. Also, how should I phrase it? Part of me wants to hurt her feelings in return to send a message, but I know I would be TA if I do that. TLDR, Heather cheated on Max twice during their relationship, and Max's mum won't cut off Heather, still referring to her as her daughter, knowing how Max feels about it. How do I tell her she sucks? Each sentence can be long if the input requires it, but must not exceed 30 words. If a sentence is longer, split it into 2 or more natural sentences without altering the content. AITA for confronting my supervisor. I work as a nurse at a hospital and recently received an attendance-related write-up that I don't think is justified. For context, earlier this year I took several bereavement days that were approved by management. During orientation, I also missed some scheduled days, but was told by management that I could make them up by working additional shifts during the week. To my knowledge, all of this was approved and should not have negatively impacted my attendance record. The bigger issue happened over Memorial Day weekend. I came into work on a Friday feeling sick, but thought I could make it through my shift. I wore a mask and asked the house supervisor if I could be low censused for the following day because I wasn't feeling well. Later that evening, she told me she would likely call me the next day and let me know whether I'd need to come in. The next afternoon, she called and said I was expected to work. I told her I was still sick and would need to call in. She responded by saying I didn't sound sick and questioned how I could have known the day before that I'd be sick the next day. The conversation ended with her saying she'd mark me as a call-in, but implying she didn't believe me. The following day, several co-workers contacted me and told me the supervisor had been telling staff that I was lying about being sick, wasn't meeting my weekend work obligations, was going to be written up, and wouldn't be here long. Apparently, she had also sent an email to management about me. For reference, I've only called in a few times in the several months I've worked there, and each time was for legitimate reasons. My pay records show I've consistently fulfilled my required weekend shifts. A week later, the supervisor came to my unit to discuss a patient. After that conversation ended, I asked her why she seemed so upset about my call-in and why she was discussing my attendance and disciplinary issues with co-workers instead of addressing concerns directly with me. She said she wasn't upset that I called in, but with how I called in. I told her I had informed her the day before that I wasn't feeling well, and that was the whole reason I requested low census in the first place. I also told her that discussing my attendance, schedule, or potential discipline with other employees was inappropriate and none of their business. She responded that she was my manager and therefore it was her concern. I told her, no, you are a PRN supervisor. I told her that my schedule changes and approved time off came through my direct manager, not her, and that my approved absences weren't something I needed to explain to co-workers. At that point, she told me I needed to stop talking to her that way. I asked her to leave me alone and let me get back to work. She continued telling me to stop talking back because she was my manager. I repeatedly asked her to walk away. Eventually she did. I never yelled, cursed, or called her names. I stayed seated the entire time and simply asked her to leave when the conversation was no longer productive. Now, management is treating the situation as if I was insubordinate.